Society's view on dating. Let me tell you something about society's view on dating. It's jacked up and it doesn't work. Many of us know it doesn't work because we've never seen a happy, functional, faithful, committed, lasting, joyful relationship, much less experienced one firsthand. How many people do you see having a 50th anniversary? Half the people that get married, it ends in divorce nowadays. I really do think I should have been born like in the 1940s when society's view on dating was so much different. But today, society tells us date as many people as you can. Can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. So you better test drive it before you buy it. You don't want to buy something and then be stuck with it for life. If it feels right, then do it. Or if it feels good, then it must be good, right? Here's my personal favorite. It's my body, and I'll do what I want with it. That, in itself, is laughable. Since when did you create yourself? Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to call you stupid. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. Because, as I've already said before, I've been there. And it took me years to change my view on dating from what society had tricked me into thinking dating really was. Let's move on to the next slide, shall we? Now that we've touched base on society's viewpoint of dating and how jacked up and broken it is, let's take a look at Scripture. I want you to look at Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. I'm going to read from the NIV translation and also the Message translation. The NIV translation tells us that there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. Why do we follow society's viewpoint on dating? Because it appears to be right. Everyone's doing it. Now, the Message translation tells us there's a way of life that looks harmless enough. Look again. It leads straight to hell. Sure, those people appear to be having a good time, but all that laughter will end in heartbreak. When I was following society's viewpoint on dating, it looked harmless enough. I even kept telling myself in the process, I'm not hurting anybody. There's nothing wrong with this. I hurt a lot of girls in the past. A lot. Not physically, but emotionally. And I'm not saying that your viewpoint on dating is going to send you to hell. Not repenting, coming to know Christ as your Savior, is the only thing that will send you to hell. But when you come to know Christ and you start to follow Him, it'll change your viewpoint. You won't think that society's viewpoint on things are accurate anymore, because you'll know better. You'll feel convicted about it. Now, everybody seemed to be having a good time. Shoot, I was having a good time. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was having a great time. And whoever told you that sin isn't fun, they lied. Sin is really fun. However, just like the Scripture tells us, those good times and that laughter, it always ended in heartbreak for me. Always. I could not keep a long-lasting, healthy relationship, even when I wanted one. And it sucked. So believe me when I tell you that it may appear to be right. It may look harmless enough. Everyone may be having a good time. You may be having a good time. But all that laughter, all those good times will end in heartbreak for you. And it's not just you that you're hurting. It's the other person, the other people. And I'm not trying to put you down. I'll say it again. I've been there. I've done it. There's no condemnation on my part. But I'm hoping that you'll learn from my mistakes and from my experiences, my trial and error. I feel like I really need to talk to the ladies at this point. So if you would, let's move to the next slide. Ladies, I know what society tells you. And I know how you're treated within our society. And I know that guys are typically, not always, but typically, the ones that are pushing those physical boundaries on a relationship. But I want you to have a higher standard for what you're willing to do. Let me begin by telling you that you are worthy of your first time being intimate with that significant other to be on a honeymoon after your wedding that he has spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to romance you for 2 weeks straight. The Bible tells us that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. You are a blessing to that man. And you know what? You shouldn't give him that blessing of you until he puts a ring on your finger. And he should see you as a blessing and not an object. And not push those physical boundaries. But I know too many girls personally that all they think they're worth is in the back seat of a car in a dark parking lot somewhere. You are way more worthy than that. So I want you to have a higher standard for what you're willing to do. Alright, check it out. This is for the men and the women. Not only do I want you to raise the standard of what you're willing to do, but I want you to raise your expectations. We see too many people lowering their expectations when it comes to dating. And this could be a result of them feeling like they don't deserve someone better, or that they can't get someone better. However, Ephesians 3 tells us that God can do exceedingly more than what we could ever ask, think, or imagine. Check this out. He can bring you someone that's more than you ever thought you could get. I know for years, personally, I've been punting way outside my coverage, way outside my league. Have you ever, seen two people that are dating, and you look at the guy or you look at the girl, and you're just like, wow. Like, that person, they're the whole 9 yards. Sweet, smart, good looking, funny, caring. And you, well, you're you. Like, I don't know what else to say there, but I don't see how you manage that one. It's because they raised the bar, they raised their expectations. They weren't willing to settle for less than they believed that they were truly worth. And if you really want to know your true worth, look towards God. He'll show you your true worth. Look at His Word. Look at Scripture. Again, Ephesians 3. It tells us that He can do exceedingly more. So why are we settling when we should raise the bar, raise our expectations? Let's move on to the next slide. first I want to talk to the guys, because let's face it, our attention span is much, much shorter than a woman's. Like, women's attention span is like a rocket going off into outer space, headed towards the moon. Guys, on the other hand, our attention span is more like a bottle rocket. It's like, shoo, we're done, I'm out. So, first let me talk to y'all, and then we'll move on to the ladies. Now, there's 3 fundamentals that I try to incorporate into my life when it comes to dating. And these are just 3 from Genesis in 1 chapter. There's a lot more out there, but I just want to touch base on 3. So, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, God created man before woman. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, man names all the animals and creatures. Genesis chapter 2, verse 20, man is put to sleep, and then God creates woman. Alright, what can we learn from this? Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, as the first to be made, men, you are to be leaders. Not in a bossy way where you're going to sit on your lazy boy recliner and start ordering people around, but you're supposed to lead her in the ways of God. And let me tell you something. You must first learn to be a leader if you ever want to lead her. You need to be leading her in emotional security. Lead her in purity. But most of all, it's your job to lead her closer to Christ. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, man names all the animals and creatures. We see here that man ordered his life, and then God brought him a woman. You need to have certain things in your life in order before God sends you someone. I remember I was dating this one girl, and I had no business dating anybody because I didn't have my life in order. I should have never brought somebody into my dysfunctional life at that time. It threw us both for a loop. But you need to have your life, or at least specific things, in order in your life before you bring someone into it. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 20, man is put to sleep, and then God creates woman. What do we learn from this? We learn that man did not create that relationship. God did. And since man didn't create the relationship, then the man should have no issue submitting that relationship back to God. We also learn that man was resting in God when God sent him a woman. Too many times we try to take on the dating aspect of our relationship instead of just putting it with God and resting in God, believing that God is going to send us someone. And we try and go out and we find it and we try and create our own relationships, and it always ends in misery. Always. We need to put our relationship in God's hands, forfeit it back to Him, and say, God, if this is meant to be, and you sent me this person, then I'm putting this relationship in your hands, and I know that you will make it good and pleasing. Alright guys, are you ready for a list of 7 things I have learned through trial and error, through experience, when it comes to dating? These may just help you and save your life later on down the road when you start dating someone. Alright, number 1, winning an argument may harm your relationship. Let me tell you, rarely does anything good ever come from you having the last word. Yeah, you may have won that argument, but you may have just lost your partner in the process. Number 2, what you do for her is never more important than who you are to her. Yeah, you may take her out on a date. You may pay for everything on that date. But how you treat her on that date is going to determine if there's a second date, or a third date, or a fourth date. If that relationship is going to continue, you need to realize that what you do for her is never more important than who you are to her. Thirdly, a date is not a marriage proposal, guys. Like, some of you need to find a middle ground between dating like it's a sport, like how many girls can I date in a year, to freaking praying and fasting for 6 months before you ask her out on a date. It's not a marriage proposal. It's just a date. So ask her out. Fourthly, digital communication should always be leading up to face-to-face communication, not taking away from it. Like, rejection and vulnerability, it may seem less scary when you're hiding behind a screen, but as men, we need to be men, and when we've got something to say, we go up and we talk to her face to face. For example, you do not want to ask a girl out or break up with her through a text or over the phone. And you definitely do not want the first time you tell a girl, I love you, to be through a text message or over the phone. That's just horrible. If you've got something to say, be a man. Go to her. Talk to her face to face. It means more. Fifthly, this is a big one, guys. Words can be everything. I know as guys, we have a tendency, like, we don't think before we say stuff. It just kind of comes out like word vomit. Like, you'll say something, and then like mentally you're just like reaching at it like, oh no, why'd I say that? And you can't grab it and bring it back. Words can be everything. And what you don't realize is women, they take that and they harbor it for months. Like 3 months later on down the road, you're going to walk through the door and she's just going to unleash the Kraken on you, dude. Like, she's going to go off on you and be like, do you remember 5 months ago when you talked about my jeans? And all you're thinking is, were we even together 5 months ago? Like, you're scary. Like, oh my God. So words can be everything. Like, if a woman says, I don't have a thing to wear, that is not an open invitation for you to go into her closet and start picking stuff out, okay? And if a woman ever asks you, does this make me look fat? There is only one acceptable answer. Only one. And nothing about her is ever sturdy. Don't try and cover it up by using the word sturdy. Don't be like, oh no, no baby, you look sturdy. You may just get a sturdy hand right outside your face. Number 6, listening, not fixing, is often the remedy to her problem. We have the tendency to try and fix things when sometimes we just need to listen. You know, sometimes she just wants to vent. She just wants to talk. Let's let her talk. Like, don't interrupt her and be like, oh baby, I can do this. No, just let her vent. Don't try and fix everything. There's some stuff that we're not in control over. We can't fix it. So just let her talk. Let her vent. Number 7, you are worthy of respect, but don't demand it. You know, like, if you're dating a girl and you're giving her respect and you're trying everything you can to serve her and you're doing things for her without keeping score, like you don't talk to your girl and be like, oh well, I've done this, you should do this for me. No, you should serve her and not keep score. And you know what? If you're serving her, you're not keeping score, then maybe it's time for you to get out of that relationship. If she still doesn't respect you, get out of that relationship before you become a doormat. And Jesus is the perfect example of this. Jesus deserved all respect. But Jesus didn't come down from heaven and go, Peter, you better shut up and follow me. Shut up, Peter. Follow me. No. Jesus earned people's respect by serving them. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the girls. So this will be fun. Stick around, guys. Hey girls, guess what? 7 things I've learned about dating. The girls version. Alright. So, let me point this out. The first one, this one's a big one. Your love is not changing him. Like, everybody loves that Beauty and the Beast story. But romantic love does not transform people. Only the love of Jesus transforms people. I know it, and some of you girls may be like, oh, dang it, I've been loving him for 12 months. I'm sorry. Let me tell you something. If your man has a 50-pound weight around his neck, and it's full of negativity, and he jumps into the ocean, your love is not going to grab him and swim him back up to safety. No. You're going to drown with him. Lastly, let me tell you, God has been changing people through love for millions of years without your help. So realize, your love is not changing him. We all love that Beauty and the Beast story. You know, I get it. But romantic love does not change people. Only the love of Christ changes people. He's been doing it for years without you. He can do it with this guy without you. Alright. Number 2. Men want to feel needed. Like we want to feel needed. We're very needy in the sense that we want to feel needed. Funny how that works. But, you know, it's great that, you know, we like independent women to a degree. But if it turns into that, I don't need a man, I'm Miss Independent. Well, guess what? You may just be Miss Independent for a very long time. You know, just give a man the illusion of being needed every once in a while. You know, let him help you by like fixing your car, changing your oil, checking the tires. You know, just any little thing that makes him feel needed in your life is going to go a long way. Alright, number 3. Nagging produces negative results. If all you do is tear him down, then don't be surprised if he doesn't take you on a romantic dinner. Believe me, I wouldn't want to sit at a romantic dinner getting nagged at either. You need to be building him up. And if you start building him up instead of tearing him down, you may just be surprised how he starts to step up and be a good man. Alright? You with me so far? Good. We'll keep going. Number 4. You deserve a lifetime commitment. Many feel they don't deserve anything more than the late night text and that late night rendezvous. You deserve a lifetime commitment. Number 5. Manipulation will sour your relationship quickly. If you cry and you tell half-truths to get your way, it may work a couple of times, but eventually It's going to sour that relationship quickly. All right, number 6. Men are not mind readers. Like, we don't even understand what's going on in our minds, much less yours. Okay? Let's just be honest. Half the time we don't even know what's going on in our own heads. So we're definitely not going to understand what's going on with you. Therefore, open communication is key. Number 7. He is not your last chance. Too many girls are in a relationship thinking that this guy is their last chance. There is never a reason to stay in a bad and unhealthy relationship. Never. You know, many girls are out there like, yeah, he used to do drugs, but he don't do drugs anymore. Like, he may sell them, but he don't do them anymore. Come on now. This guy is not your last chance. So if you're in an unhealthy relationship, just go ahead and get out of it. Alright, next slide, please. I know many of you may be like, dude, I have messed up on every aspect that you touch base on within this PowerPoint. Let me reaffirm you by saying you're not the only one. As I've said many times before, these are lessons that I have learned personally through experience, through trial and error in my own life. So you're not the only one. The key to happiness is finding the one. You know, does the one exist? Yes, the one is Jesus. Your significant other is number 2. It's very important that you don't get those two confused. Now, before I let you go, I just want to tell you a quick story. Back when I was in middle school, I was at a youth revival, and there was about 100 of us, and this pastor come to talk to us. He got up on the stage, and he had this beautiful rose with him. It was this fresh rose, you know, it was just perfect. And he holds it up for everybody to see, and he says, every guy in here and every girl in here would want this rose. And he gives it to the first kid, and he says, now what I want you to do is I want you to smell the rose, I want you to touch it, feel it, and then I want you to pass it around. Then he continues with his message on purity and on not having sex before marriage. At the end of it, he asks for the rose back. Now, as you can imagine, as his rose has been through over 100 middle school age kids' hands, it's in pretty bad shape. Like, the rose petals have fallen off, the stem's broken, some kid picked his nose with it. I don't know. But it was in bad shape. And he holds it up, and he goes, who would want this rose now? After it's been through the hands of so many people. Like, who would really want this rose? And looking back, like I understand the concept he was trying to make, but it's not even the gospel. Like, looking back, knowing what I know now, I would be like, are you crazy? Jesus wants the rose. Because it's still valuable. It still has worth. Let me tell you something. You're not so beaten up and so broken. You may have slept with 100 different people. But the gospel tells us that you are still worth something great. And Jesus still wants you. We see in Romans where it says that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. There's still worth on your life, young man, young woman. You know, you may have been raped, you may have been talked into having sex before marriage, or whatever the case may be, but there's still worth on your life. It's important that you know that. And the enemy, he'll try and tell you that no good man will want you now. No good woman will want you now. Maybe you can date all these other losers, but no Christian man or woman is going to want to be with you now. And that is a lie straight from the enemy. Don't listen to that mess. There's still time to turn your life around. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Because if that's not true, then there's no hope for me. I know you can turn your life around. And you can start doing things that will make a healthy relationship for you in the future. I hope that you have learned something from this, and I hope that you have found encouragement and strength.